Hello everyone, and welcome to a quick episode of Trek Canon. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the upcoming Star Trek Starfleet Academy. So you're going to find yourself seeing a lot of videos that creators have been making, talking about the quality of the show, talking about, giving all these bad reviews and negative, viewpoints about the show. Here's the thing. The reason I haven't really talked about Star Trek Starfleet Academy is simple. I haven't seen the show yet, so I don't know what quality it is. I don't know what the storyline is going to be about. I don't know a lot about this show, so I can't competently talk about what what I expect from the show and what the show is actually going to deliver. But what I can talk about is basically just two things, and that's going to be just from the clips and from the trailers that I have seen so far. I can competently speak on that. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Jem'Hadar female plus size. All right. Now, first, I don't want anybody to start thinking, man, he's shaming the Jem'Hadar. No. Let's talk about things in canon. Why? Because that's why we are here. What is the purpose of the Jem'Hadar? Who do the Jem'Hadar serve? All right. These are two very important questions that are easily answered by anybody who has watched Deep Space Nine. All right. So, what are the Jem'Hadar? The Jem'Hadar are basically the enforcement warrior arm of the Dominion. Okay, you got three factions. You have the founders, shapeshifters, right? You got the Vorta, the administrative guys, all right, and they kind of head the Jem'Hadar, point them in the direction that they want them to go, and they carry out the wishes of the Dominion. All right, the the Jem'Hadar are only one gender, male. Okay, these guys are genetically engineered so that they will have a disposition to fighting. If they're not fighting, training to fight. If they're not training to fight, trying to research how to be better at the first two. Okay, so the downtime for Jem'Hadar soldiers is basically fighting. That's what they do. They love to do it. They love to train and fight. That's their thing. All right. Now, what would be the reason for the founders to create a female version of a Jem'Hadar? All right. Some people might say, well, maybe the presence of Odo in a Great Link basically was changed the founder's mind and was like, hey, we should give the Jem'Hadar their freedom. While giving them their freedom, we should maybe give them a second gender so that they can reproduce. Make them more make them more of a normal species. The layman would think that. But see, here's the thing. That's not how the founders operate. It has never been shown in canon that the founders would even have that consideration for a Jem'Hadar. Think of it this way. Odo going into the Great Link to effect the Great Link would have been just as successful as Hugh joining back up with the collective and the collective having a little bit vision of individuality. That wouldn't have worked. Let me tell you why. Everybody that the Borg assimilate has a resemblance of individuality. All right. Everybody who the Borg assimilates, the Borg is aware of the fact that they used to be individuals. They feel the fact that they used to be individuals, and the Borg don't care nothing about that. So I don't know why they felt that Hugh going back to the collective would have made a difference. The same way that that would have made a difference, Odo going back to the Great Link, yeah, they would have knew all that stuff that Odo knew, but it wouldn't have made a difference. Okay, fine. Now here's the thing: what would be the purpose of how the Jem'Hadar are produced? They don't reproduce. Of how they're produced. What would be the purpose of providing a female version of that? Because they don't engage like that, right? They don't reproduce. They don't zigzag, with a male and female gender. They're grown out of husks. You know what I mean? So I don't understand the logic of that. The second thing is a Jem'Hadar serving Starfleet or the Federation. We've already said that if you know anything about the Jem'Hadar is genetically dispositioned and engineered to serve only one group of individuals, and that's the founders, who they see as their gods. If you're not a founder, right, or somebody that the founders told to, hey, listen to the Vorta. All right, then the Jem'Hadar don't care nothing about what you think, how you feel about none of that, and they're not trying to serve you. So I'm trying to figure out why instead of serving the founders, did this female Jem'Hadar decide, hey, I'm gonna serve Starfleet and the Federation, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure the founders, being as vindictive and spiteful as they are, being one of the most vindictive and spiteful races that we've encountered in Star Trek, they wouldn't care about helping Starfleet at all. Dude, y'all tried to genocide us. You know what I mean? Like, think of it this way. The female changeling was gonna let everybody die before giving the before making the Jem'Hadar surrender. The only reason that she gave the surrender was because, one, Odo came, who was a founder, and he was like, listen, I'll take my cure back to the Great Link so we can save everybody. That's the only reason that that everything ended as less bloody as it did in the first place with the. So you trying to tell me that they're gonna send somebody to work for Starfleet and the Federation and be part of the Starfleet when y'all know the founders don't like the Federation or Starfleet? Like, we spent all kind of seasons in Deep Space Nine with the founders trying to destroy the Federation and Starfleet. You trying, okay, look, that's besides the point. That being said, with all this training, how did you get a body mass index that's a little higher than what you should have, right? Why are you a female Jem'Hadar? What purpose does that serve? Did like a Jem'Hadar ancestor of yours mate with like another species, which they don't have genitalia like that? Again, they're grown out of husk. So, like, there's a lot of questions I got about this, man, as far as how she fits into canon, why she's a she, why she's serving the Federation, why she's in a Starfleet uniform, all of this, right? The second thing is this Klingon. This Klingon laying in the field, smiling, holding hands in a group of humans, right? Do you know how odd that is just right off the bat? The only people who I could even almost venture to guess would do something like that would be Kalar, and she was half human, and the other one would be Alexander, who's quarter human and raised by humans. Other than that, there's absolutely nothing warrioriness about this. There's absolutely nothing honorable about this right here. I don't know why they decided to do this. The only reason I could think of is they decided to make this Klingon maybe a little Don Flamingo, in which case, not Don Flamingo. I didn't just say Don Flamingo. Anyway, don't worry about that. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot going on in Star Trek Starfleet Academy that you can talk about just right off of those two bats, then talk about their show as a, you know, in its entirety not being good when you haven't seen it yet, or talk about it being, oh, my favorite, the application of woke to it and everything like that. First of all, Star Trek has always been diverse. So just get out of here with that. But there's a lot of things that you can talk about, you know, even old storylines that they could come up with, for the simple fact it's set in the future. Do you guys remember that guy from the Next Generation, man, who called himself an archaeologist, stole that time machine shuttle, right? That was from the future, where the archaeologist was using time travel, you know, for learning and investigations and all that kind of stuff. You had the temporal war that they didn't win past. Like, you have you know, life forms like V'ger and, you know, the whale probe and everything like that, extra galactic species, you know, guys, you know, the people who sent that from season 1, man, those parasites who sent the signal out, you know, outside the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah, it was going to take a few centuries for them to come back into our Milky Way galaxy. It should be around that time. But I don't think the writers are going to be considering a lot of these types of storylines and, you know, themes that they could put in a Star Trek. Starfleet Academy. I think that they're going to kind of mess it up, man, and it's going to hurt my heart, but I'm still going to watch it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about the stuff I've said as far as the Jem'Hadar and the Klingon, just from the images and the trailer. Let me know if you guys are looking forward to it, and despite if you guys think it's going to be a terrible show, if you guys are still going to watch it because you're Trekkies and Canonites. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and as always, peace, recycle, and say the whales. You guys be cool.